August 18th, 2014. Thanks for choosing Q2 to start your day. I'm Simone DeAlba. Well, topping the news this morning, we begin in the courtroom. In one of Yellowstone County's most violent murder cases in its history, a Billings man is sentenced to 100 years in prison. Turkeys have been rolling in throughout the day, all for a great cause. Now, also part of the fun is a little bit of cat-grizz rivalry to help fuel that competition.
What are you hearing from United? Any sense of what caused this? Just standard turbulence in the air?
It does appear that turbulence, and I mean we're talking severe turbulence, seems to be the issue, according to United Airlines. However, they're saying that the flight safety team is going to investigate what happened further. I know a point of contention was passengers saying they weren't getting a response as to what happened.
We do understand that one woman hit her head during this turbulence, which can be deadly at times when it is severe. Simone DeAlba, thanks so much for being with us.
Well, in other news, one man is dead following an officer-involved shooting in Missoula early this morning. A little mini freeze to keep us on our toes.
Yeah, just to remind you what winter can do.
All right. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy those turkeys. A devastating fire ripped through downtown Du Bois, Wyoming last night, damaging 8 businesses and half a city block. This is the 114th brawl, and of course the winner takes home the Great Divide Trophy. So a big rivalry, right, guys?
Huge.
Yeah.
A Great Falls neighborhood is shaken up overnight after police bust a meth lab inside a residential home. MTN's Devontae McKenneth has been following the case throughout the morning and joins us now with more.
And just like you mentioned, the investigation.
Well, a Butte Community Group is holding a public meeting this evening to address important issues such as youth substance abuse and teen suicide. Here in the United States, President Obama is making good on last year's vow to return to Indian country in 2014. It will close schools and possibly quarantine communities in an attempt to stop the spread of Ebola. CBS's David Begnaud joins us now live.
Reporting you can trust with Simone DeAlba.
I'm actually on the West High track, and what you can see behind me are luminaries. Now, each of these represents somebody's story, somebody's struggle, and today I was lucky enough to meet some of the survivors. For many residents here in Roundup, this is their reality. Floodwaters rising and homes submerged. With a projected 8 billion mouths to feed by 2025, how do you feed a nation? We'll introduce you to one Montana family doing just that. I'm here at the Yellowstone County Courthouse where ballot counting started early this morning for the primary elections. Now, right behind me, that's what's taking place in those doors. Is public safety in jeopardy enough to justify raising those property taxes? I'm here in Cody, Wyoming, where just hours from now, one of the first same-sex marriages is going to take place right at the courthouse behind me. Brandon Slack came from a lineage of public service. Being a Marine was not just a career, it was in his blood.
My son Brandon, he was one of those larger-than-life type personalities. Brandon did 2 tours in Iraq, and he was every bit of what a Marine should be.
After his first deployment, Brandon began taking medication for PTSD. His family notes that his behavior changed drastically, and yet he was still deployed for a second tour.
Something was desperately wrong. His temper was startling. I came into the house one day, he was on the phone with somebody, and I didn't even recognize who this person was.
After trying for years to find her son help, he ultimately lost his battle. Brandon would commit suicide in October of 2013.
It was about 1 o'clock in the morning when the police came to my door, and Brandon was gone. And there was so much help with burying him. It was amazing.
As a nation, we experience 22 veteran suicides a day. Servicemen and women just like Brandon. That's a rate of nearly 1 an hour.
If we were losing that many soldiers or service members on the battlefield, you know, Congress would be up in arms, the American public would be up in arms, and they would expect that we would do something about it.
22 veterans a day don't kill themselves because we're overflowing with resources.
Michael Worsley experienced PTSD firsthand after serving multiple tours as a Marine. He now works at the Billings Vet Center, hoping to help those servicemen and women in desperate need.
The bottom line is if somebody comes into our office and says, I'm thinking about suicide, it's like somebody took the needle off the record, you know, just everything stops.
Kate believes the system completely failed her son and continues to fail many others.
But I don't know how many times they told me to call the police and just have him locked up. And I was the only one my son had. How could I? And he didn't need to be locked up in jail. He needed help.
Senator Walsh has introduced legislation that would make resources readily available to veterans and would greatly increase prevention efforts.
The VA just hasn't ramped up as quickly as I believe they should have.
They're falling through the cracks. So many times my son would tell me, "Mom, they just shove pills down your throat and tell you to go away."
For the Slack family, the cost of war was heavy. Kate says she hopes Brandon's story helps create change. In Billings, Simone DeAlba, MTN News. Meet the Colliers, Nathan, Christine, and Vicki.
I have a distinctly different marriage with Vicki than my marriage with Christine.
While at first glance the marriage could be considered non-traditional, the Colliers say what matters most is a happy family.
Both are equal, both are valued, both are cherished, but they're distinctly different. And you have to work on each relationship.
Placing their family in the glare of the national spotlight was a calculated decision, one they knew could carry risk.
What the Browns have done, they've paved the way for happy, functional families like ours to step forward, to come out of the shadows.
Polygamy is a misdemeanor in the state of Montana. However, Nathan hopes sharing their story will invite discussion and help lessen any stigma surrounding it.
It's hard to appreciate until you've been there how demoralizing, how degrading it is to feel like you have to hide your family.
Nathan says that there are many misconceptions about polygamy.
I'm not out shopping for wives, looking for wives. I don't believe in it, and I refuse to associate with polygamists that do. I'm not trying to collect wives.
Christine and Vicki refer to one another as sister wives. They say their bond is unique.
I mean, we're sharing the most intimate part of us. And, you know, in addition to sharing our home, in addition to sharing our kids, you know, we're sharing a husband.
She's the first person I go and get when there's a bug. Or she's helped me, you know, with things with school. I mean, just so many things that I didn't think I needed her for, I find that I do need her for.
The Colliers say they hope their message helps increase acceptance for others on a national level and here in the community.
A few years ago, I was scared to death to tell anybody anything. And now I can go on national television and say, this is my wife, Vicki, and this is my wife, Christine, and not live in mortal fear of that.